and you gracing this with your presence. Time is the most important thing for all of us, and for you to be here, I'm truly grateful. Thank you once again to all the Swamis and Chaitanyas here for allowing this to happen. Thank you. The talk yesterday was on light and darkness, and as I mentioned in my talk yesterday, I deeply miss the two other colleagues who were supposed to have been here with me, Professors Nathan Katz and Stephen Hine. And I have transformed the topics, changed the topics to fit my own areas of interest, and it is a pity that we cannot all learn from them also, but some other time. So, what did we speak about yesterday? It was the primacy of light. And the primacy of light, the argument I was making was despite the various differences and the multiple areas of divergence in world religions that people are always pointing to, there are some areas where there's some remarkable correspondence. And it's like a Venn diagram almost, and where things come together. One of them is the concept of light. And here, light is seen as good, the luminous spirit within you searching in a path of light for the Supreme Being, which is effulgent and brilliant. And that supreme state that one wants to achieve is also in the state of total brilliance. So we spoke about light, reality, and immortality based on the verse that we recite every night here, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityonma Amritam Gamaya. I divided the talk last night into a very traditional format of the way in which many of the Hindu texts are arranged: tattva, reality, or the truth; hita, the path; and purushartha, the aims of a human being. Tattva, in this case, I spoke about light being a metaphor and a reality for the human soul as well as for the Supreme Being. The path is also seen to be that of light. And I spoke about how the different traditions have seen the path of light in devotion, in jnana, of course, lighting up knowledge, and above all, and in the words of Swami Shivananda, how karma yoga is so important in lighting that lamp within you. And finally, the ultimate liberation, where one is one, literally, with the Supreme Being, which is the brilliance of 100 million suns. I ended the talk with a small focus, with a focus on a 13th century woman philosopher who uses the imagery of light to play around all these themes, bringing together all these ideas. And her name was Tirukkoneri Dase, hardly a household word, but since she was a woman from the 13th century speaking her mind, I've wanted to talk about her. So we spoke about the Supreme Being lighting the path to liberation, the soul at liberation, the Supreme Being as light, Koti Surya Samaprabha, like light of 10 million suns, the luminous path to enlightenment, and what is enlightenment. Today, we turn our eyes, our focus to a different area. We use darkness and black as a foil. And one leaves with the impression, oh, dark is mortality, dark is not good, it's ignorance, it's not correct. But that's not the way it works out. Never works out that way. Never works out the way we expect it in world religions. And so the topic today, and I had to get into it, instead of going into one more area of light, which one can do easily. But to speak about the significance of darkness, the beauty of darkness, the divinity of blackness, and so on. And you know what I did yesterday, right? I mean, I gave you a roadmap of what I want to do. It kind of keeps us on the path and what we wanted to do. And the path today is to speak about the blackness when the Supreme Being is dark. And here I speak about two deities, Krishna and Kali. And then one example of when light is not good. And then leading on to tomorrow's talk, it'll be on different kinds of dualisms. But so far, we've been speaking about light being what we're looking for from creation. In the most luminous talk yesterday, Swami Shambhu spoke about the brilliance of light, the significance of light in some of the Jewish traditions, turning our attention to those flashes of light which we should gather and not just keep to ourselves, not just keep for us to enjoy, but to turn it back to the divine. Thank you for that. And an opportunity for all of us to learn. So today we turn to the importance of blackness. And one would think we can discard it, we can throw it away, we don't need it. But that's not how it will be in the Hindu tradition. The word Krishna, whom you all cheered for a few minutes back, means black, dark, attractive. And this is one of the most beloved deities, and he's black. He's represented in paintings and in sculpture as black or dark. Why do you think? Okay, I mean, I have my theories, and I'm going to get into it now. But do you have ideas as to why black is important, or why the deity is figured in a dark color? Anyone here? Yeah? The correlation
what sunlight could do to skin.
and wait, I think it's Bala, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Bala, tell us a little bit more.
Well, the correlation of dark skin on the being of skin.
Uh-huh.
The sun is usually correlation of melatonin.
So it is an interplay between the light and our skin.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else? That's an excellent idea.
Just speaking from experience.
Okay. Don't, the suntan lotion, don't leave home without it, right? Why else would a deity be black? Yeah.
Well, you have, in order to see the light, you have to see the dark.
Yes, you can't have light without dark, right? And the deity itself is dark, right? That is very important. I mean, without darkness, one does not see light. There is no light. Any other reason? Yeah, Swami Shambhu.
In the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna is talking about in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna about the description of the Sthitapagya, about the one who is established in wisdom, towards the end, Lord Krishna says, that which is day for all beings, this is night for the wise. And that which is day for the wise is dark to all beings. So when the sage or the saint or the yogi or the wise one, the jnani, is reveling in the self, that self is totally something which is oblivious. It's something which is totally dark. It's something that nobody can see.
It's within you.
Right.
Right.
So.
You're reveling in it.
Right. But it's so subtle and it's so imperceptible. So because it is imperceptible for the senses, for others it's like not there at all. It's like total darkness. But for the yogi, this is the luminous light.
That is the luminous part. Because it's beyond the senses and beyond the perception and beyond the divine mind's intelligence. That which cannot be grasped by the mind or spoken of by the word. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. There the words do not go. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya. It cannot be grasped. Aprapya by the mind also. Very good. Thank you. That is extraordinarily subtle and beautiful. Anything else? Yeah.
All colors mixed together make black.
Absolutely. And that's a beautiful thing to have. And we'll come across more explanations as we go along today. Ultimately, you'll realize that in Hinduism, it's not either or. It's not like this is correct and that is wrong. Every one of what you have said is correct. Our conjunction of preferences and, not or. So, yes, every one of what you have said here is correct. And there are more too. And it leaves it a kind of, it keeps going. It's an open-ended search. And what I'll be doing today is not giving you reasons as to why he's black or why Kali is black, but rather share with all of you and walk together through this enjoyment of blackness that the poets have felt from different centuries. How have they reveled in this darkness, reminding us, go further, go further. Just don't stick to what you have as light and say, this is the end of the road. Keep going. And it's that beauty that I wanted to share with you. I'll be presenting a lot of illustrations in this art form today because I particularly enjoy it. It's done by women, rural women, in the area called Mithila. Anyone knows why Mithila is important? Sita. Sita is called Maithili. She's from Mithila. And that area, oh, do I know a Sita here? And Sita is from Mithila. And that area has, the women do this beautiful, this kind of art on the houses, outside homes. And it's only as late as the 1960s that they were persuaded to do it on huge canvases and then to make money for themselves and for the village. And I inherited a lot from one of my colleagues, which now I'm going to give to a museum, art museum. So before I gave it away, I was taking pictures of them. And here is Krishna. And he is described as dark as a kaya flower. But he is represented both as blue and as black. And some people have said that may have been to do with the pigmentation that was available, the vegetable pigmentation. It's a very material thing to do. Other people have given more historical reasons as to why he is black. Well, it's actually a certain form. There were all indigenous deities who were drawn into a larger fold. Others have said there are certain forms of yakshas, of semi-divine beings who were absorbed. There are many theories. Well, we're not really sure of all of them. But the dark one, Krishna, was also born in the middle of the night. Remember where he was born, in the middle of the night in a prison which is dark, on a dark, stormy night. And suddenly his parents who are imprisoned there hear a voice saying, telling the father, instructing Vasudeva, take this child on your head, cross the Yamuna river, go to the little village of Gokula, and there is a little girl baby who is not alive. Exchange it. Leave Krishna there and come back with that girl who is Maya. And he says, how can I go? I'm imprisoned here. And all of that fetters fall loose. And the stormy night comes, it's dark. But because it is dark, the gods are asleep and the other gods do not venture out because it's a stormy night. And there he is, carrying the baby in this dark. Favorite theme in paintings. But hearing the story, it is said that Pillan, Tirukuruhai Piran Pillan, a devotee in the 11th century, heard this. Oh my God, it's because of darkness. Darkness was at the service of the deity. It's because of that my Krishna survived. And he prostrated, it is said, in front of darkness, saying, we needed you. You came to us to save our God. And so this Krishna grows up, as many of you may know, filled with mischief, always getting into trouble, stealing things, and his mother in desperation says, I can't stand this anymore, a feeling that many mothers have when they see their kids, and ties him up to a mortar. And yet he draws it out, goes between two trees, Arjuna trees, and Arjuna is white. So you can see the metaphor of the white trees, and they're coming down with this dark blue deity going in the middle. And he falls down. And he goes through it, the trees fall. Krishna, of course, survives happily, laughing at his mother, because he's got one better of her again. And we know the many other stories of Krishna. But to go back yesterday, do you remember the story I told you about the old man, the poet Madhura Kavi? He was in northern India. He sees a light, a guiding light, follows it all the way south to India. And what happens to the light? It merges with the poet called Namarvar. The word Arvar, which is used as a kind of suffix to many of these names, is an honorific. It says the person who is deep in love of God, deep, R, and Arvar is the deep. So it's Namarvar, R, Arvar, and Madhura Kavi Arvar comes there. Many of the poets, and these poets sang in the Tamil language, many of the poets, male poets, sometimes assume the voice of a woman who is in love with the Supreme Being, a woman who is desperate for union with that Supreme Being, portrayed here as a male. So it's a male poet, Namarvar, man, but he's assuming the voice of a woman. And in rituals, he's even dressed as a woman, seeking the love of the only divine male, Vishnu, Narayana. Now, let's pause here for a minute, just for a quick minute. It's an aside, so to speak, before we come back to this. I'll come back to Namarvar's voice, in which he's speaking as a woman. But why should he speak as a woman? What's going on here? he's a male. Well, in much of this poetry that you will see, and in philosophy, what you'll notice is that the soul, the fluidity of gender is seen. The soul itself is beyond gender. But in the poetry, it's a literary conceit to speak of your love in different ways. And the poets will assume the voice of a mother, Yashoda, singing about a child, Krishna, "You naughty little one, wait till I get you." So the voice of a woman again, a male poet. Sometimes they may speak as a woman, the same poet may speak as a young woman in love with God, the divine bridegroom. And it is said in a particular story to do with Mirabai, much later, several centuries after the Arvars, that while she was in Vrindavan, the Holy Land, one of the so-called holy men, and he was a holy man, came to her and said, "Oh, women are not allowed here." And she just looked at him and said, "You know what? The best I can see, there's only one man in this entire forest in Vraj, and that's Krishna. Every other soul is a female in relation to him." But yet, although that is one metaphor, that every one is a bride of the divine bridegroom, there are yet other philosophical discourses in which the soul is beyond gender. The kernel, the soul is beyond gender, the husk, the body. And this is the story of Sulabha and Janaka, in which they realize that the soul, your outer body, is the husk. That has gender. But the soul is beyond gender. So there are many ways in which you can understand the philosophical and the poetry here. And in poetry, it's the woman's voice which is heard. So that was the aside. Back here to Light and Darkness. Here, the poet sings in the voice of a cowherd girl, a gopi, who pines for the dark Lord Krishna. And she says, "I'm dying here. I want to be with you, and you have no heart. You're just going away. You're a heartless person here. I shall die if you go to graze the cows, for my soul is ablaze with the fire of my breath. I have no companion. I shall not live to see your dark body dance." The dark body of Krishna is dancing. And see how the women have conceptualized it from Mithila, the dancing body of Krishna. "When you leave me, the day never ends. My twin eyes, the eyes are shaped like fish. They swim in tears that never end." And this is Namarvar, the male poet. So why do the same poet think of God as a child, as a bridegroom, as a master? Because this love for the divine, the bhakti, the devotion, is across the spectrum. You can take many, and the Supreme Being is all of these and more. It transcends more of this. And the same poet Namarvar says he's light and he's dark. The body is dark as a blue sapphire. And yet at others same he says, "My Lord, the flame of flames." Remember we said Sanskrit, the words were Jyotisham Jyotihi. And that comes out again in Tamil. And when he's a woman, he says, "Shall I call him the one whose feet is lit with the rays of beauty," the rays? "Shall I call him the one whose body is dark as coal?" And you can see Vishnu here. The body is dark. So you can see in every portrayal, he is dark here. Or here, which you see in the ashram again. "Shall I call him the black sapphire of the first waters? Shall I call him the dazzling gold?" So there's shifting between darkness and shining light and darkness and shining light. And we'll come back to this paradox tomorrow. Because it's not just sitting in the darkness or lightness, he's both. Shall I call him the lamp of the everlasting light? So he is darkest night and light of the everlasting light. As we can see in our own Balakrishna here, in our temple. Not only Krishna, but Kali and Rama are also dark. So this is Rama, right? Dark, and again from a familiar portrayal of Rama. In the 18th and 19th century, there was a wonderful musician, composer called Tyagaraja. And Tyagaraja, who wrote in Telugu, writes, O Shama Sundaranga. That is, O Lord with the beautiful dark-hued form, singing about Rama. O Ramachandra, effulgent on earth. So yes, starting with darkness, and yes, yet you're effulgent. And that is Tyagaraja, the poet, who has a vision of the dark, and the dark person in between is Rama. So it's Rama and Krishna who are both dark. And here in the Mithila painting, you'll immediately see who's dark. And in front is a ferryman called Guha, who takes them in a boat across the Ganga, across the rivers, Sarayu and Ganga. And then Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana. Krishna is called Meghashama, dark as a stormy cloud, not just a plain cloud, a stormy cloud. And in fact, in South India, there's a temple called Tirumohur, near the city of Madurai, where he is called Kala Megham, the dark, stormy cloud. And you can imagine a dark, stormy cloud. Why? One more reason why God is black, why he's Krishna. A rain-bearing cloud is black. And the rain-bearing cloud brings life to the arid plains, the dry summer heat, when everything is dying. They're praying for the monsoon. And the monsoon comes. The dark, stormy clouds are there, but you don't know when it's going to rain. The weatherman, we all know this, says it's going to rain today, 100%, 90%. Ban, nothing. Right? And so too in India, in monsoon, the dark clouds are there, and you're waiting for the heat to break, the rain to come. But the clouds move on. And so too is divine grace. We don't know when. We know it's certain. It's going to rain, and divine grace we'll get divine grace. But when? Is it today? Is it tomorrow? We don't know that. And so this storm, the unexpected nature of a stormy cloud, is used by poets. Rabindranath Tagore. Anyone from Bengal here? I'd like to give a shout out and say welcome here to Vikatri. She introduced herself to me earlier today. Our families have been friends for about 90 years. Okay, full disclosure, I'm not 90 yet. Okay, I may look that, but let's keep moving right on, okay? But Tagore is from Bengal. Oh, I do want to say something, if you don't mind. Her husband and the family friend we were talking about, he's the great-grandson of Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, President of India, former President of India, who was a philosopher and translated the Upanishads, the principal Upanishads and so on, into English. One of the most beautiful translations. So that is a connection here. And Tagore says, the rain has held back for days and days, my God, in my arid heart, in my dry heart. And that's where we all are. The horizon is fiercely naked. It's dark. It's stark heat coming. Not the thinnest cover of a soft cloud, not the vaguest hint of a distant cool shower. And that's why the dark, stormy clouds, we long for them. And when the monsoon comes, people dance in the streets, welcoming the rains. And Tagore says, send thy angry storms, dark with that, if it is thy wish. And with flashes of lightning, startle the sky from end to end, wake up my heart. But call back, my Lord, call back this pervading silent heat. The viraha, separation, the heat of the separation between us and the Supreme Being can only be drowned by that stormy cloud raining on us. Let the cloud of grace bend low from above like a tearful look of a mother on the day of a father's wrath. So I'm suffering. It's like a child when it's done something wrong, no way out, father's angry, and the mother's cooling glance comes down. And that's the rain shower. And that is the Supreme Being. And that's how they conceptualize the darkness of Rama and Krishna. But the darkness can have other aspects. Let's look at a completely different aspect here of Kali, the Divine Mother Kali. Two dictionary entries, one from Sanskrit, one from Tamil. Both say black goddess, a form of Durga. Durga as being black in the Tamil dictionary, constant. Who is Kali? I must confess that I am not familiar growing up with the traditions of Kali. I grew up in South India in a family which is more Vishnu oriented. The goddess there was Lakshmi, golden, gracious, filled with love, who will give you auspiciousness here and auspiciousness in death. And that's what I grew up with. And so the idea of Kali was very distant to me, but familiar in many states of India, many parts of India, where people worship her. Why? Because there is more to life than grace, more to life than the golden path, more to life than everything being good. We all have met with the storms of life, where it's not simply a storm of grace. We've been through those dark periods where things make no sense. There's injustice, there's war, there's destruction. Destruction of a kind that we never understand. Things are not falling into place. And Kali, in her concept of dread, draws your attention to that and to temporality, to transcend that. And here's a poet, and there's a translation by David Kinsley. Crazy is my father, crazy is my mother, and I, their son, am I crazy too? Shyama. Shyama is the dark one. And it's the name of Kali. My mother's name is my mother's name. My father strikes us like cheeks and makes a hollow sound. Ba-boom, ba-boom. And my mother, drunk and reeling, falls across my father's body. It draws your attention to where things are not neatly aligned and harmonious. It draws your attention to other parts of life. And yet, what do people see in this? To be part of this darkness, to be part of this, to embrace it as part of life, to know that she too is filled with love, and dark moments are teaching moments. And so people interpret Kali in multiple ways. Some look upon this as the destruction and transcending that. Some people look at her saying, out of death comes life. Some people say, it is dark, but I am with you. I am bathing in this darkness. Just as you bathe in the light, it's a very different form here. This time, Kali, I'm going to eat you up. Oh, compassionate one to the poor, your blackness I'll smear on myself. I embrace what is not right in this world, what is not just. And I will come to you for transcendence, for the favor of your grace. And when death comes, I'll blacken his face too with your blackness. So this Kali is a mode of transcendence which takes you away. And this poet, which my friend Rachel translated this poem, and it was she who has taught me over the years about how to appreciate Kali. She is a professor in Columbia University. And she has translated multiple poems to Kali. And she says, amazing her body, black as clouds, pierces the darkness with its sheen. But remember, it's got a sheen. She's got hair blacker than the clouds, eyes shot with a lotus red, a distended dangling tongue. A frightful sight makes you fear. But for the devotee, she's a blessing. She's a blessing who takes away fear. Her lowly one says, there is no ordinary being, but the risen form of the goddess whose essence is Brahman. The essence is Brahman. So it's not black. Look beyond the black, look beyond the light. And that's what we'll come back to tomorrow. We have to look beyond this. And look at the paradox here. And that's what I want to come back to. Who is the enchantress lighting up the war field by her black beauty, whose woman with huge eyes and a dreadful face adorns herself for battle and a garland? But she's an enchantress. She lights up the world with a black body. And her black form lights up the three worlds. Moving quickly along, and in the next 5 minutes, since I want to finish within 10, if black is beautiful, can light be harmful? Can light be harmful? Yes. Burns your skin. Not just because you're tan, but it can burn it. Can lead to deadly diseases. Can cause blindness when you have too much light. There's no time for this story, but I'll tell you quickly. It is said that the son got married, and his wife, after some while, couldn't stand that overwhelming light. She couldn't stand it. And so it is said that she asked her father, Twashtar, Vishwakarma, to chip off the light from the sun later. But meanwhile, she kept her twin, called Shadow, as the wife and ran away. It's a long story, but it tells you how sun is not always thought of as in great light in the Vedas and in other places too. So we come back to what you said, without darkness, we can't see light. And many living beings cannot survive. And occasionally, light can be a symbol of evil. Where? I'd love to wait and ask you, but I'm going to keep moving because we're out of time. Lucifer. Heard of Lucifer? Do you know that the word Lucifer means light? Hello? Yes? You knew it, Krishna? Okay? Take my word for it.
Putting it together.
Yeah, just putting it together. It means light bearer. Actually, many translations still translate Lucifer as the morning star, Venus. And it's a long story about how it got from there to meaning Lucifer. Long story short, and summarizing many of the slides. So it means Lucifer's light bringer, planet Venus. But even in the early poems, you say, "Oh, you've fallen down, O day star, son of dawn." And this is a poem addressed to a king of Babylon who was so haughty, and then his fall is seen as a fall from the heavens, like a star falling from the heavens. It refers to the king of Babylon, but how did it get connected with the devil? Because some of the early church fathers took it that way. They compared the pride of the king of Babylon with the pride that all of us may have and what Lucifer had. And that pride made him fall down. So light, this light bringer, is a symbol of evil. And well, it's a long story here, but it does get there. Plants too need light. And so human beings, plants, all of us need this light. And because we're running out of time, I'm going to introduce you to the concepts, but come back to these tomorrow, when we'll have a little bit more time to look at it. I'm conscious that I should be done in 2 or 3 minutes, right? Okay. How can we begin to interpret these ideas? All of yesterday was all about light. All today, all about darkness, and black is beautiful, right? How do we reconcile these two? I'd like all of you to think about it too. And come back tomorrow and we can share ideas about that. I'd like to look at 3 concepts: contradictory dualism, complementary dualism, and briefly what is called ethical dualism. Historically, there's a religion called Zoroastrianism, started around the 6th century BCE. Many religions did. Go to China, we have Confucius, Lao Tzu, same time period. Gautama the Buddha, Mahavira, Ajivikas from India, so on. But Zarathustra, spoke about one of the early religions of dualism. Light versus darkness. Good versus bad. And it was, the two were fighting each other, contradictory. It is said, some scholars have worked out actually, again an aside, that ideas from there passed on when the Jews were in Babylon in captivity. Some of these ideas passed on and entered into the Western civilization. That's one theory. And ideas of hell, heaven, and all those things came at that point. But this is black and white are opposed to each other. They're not connected at all. They're against each other. And then we have something called ethical dualism, which I will pass over and come back to tomorrow. And then complementary dualism, where good and bad and black and white, light and darkness are not against each other, but work together. You need the light for the darkness and darkness to for light. And so this is complementary dualism, and we will come back to this tomorrow. But we need the darkness, we need the rain and the sun to create the beauty, of the rainbow. And I remember one time, one of the early visits I had here, when I was in the prayer hall and it was raining, and suddenly I could see on the ground this light. And coming between Balakrishna and the deities here and the gurus there, it seemed to be just remarkable. Bringing together shadow and shine, dark and lightness. Thank you. Thank you once again for this privilege.